everyone, and welcome to my review of A Thousand Splendid Suns by Khaled Hosseini. I love this book. I just finished reading this yesterday and I love this book so much. I love this book so much that today I went out to, I think, the only bookstore in this city that brings English books, and I bought this book, And the Mountains Echoed, again by Khaled Hosseini. I waited so long to read A Thousand Splendid Suns. I read The Kite Runner when it came out in 2003, maybe 2005 I read it. And it's been so long that I didn't read this book, and I'm not going to allow myself to procrastinate reading this. I am going to, however, wait a bit, maybe like give myself a couple of other books in between, because I do not want to judge it by A Thousand Splendid Suns. My expectations are so high for this one right now. I'm going to wait a bit until they settle a little bit, but I'm so excited. Anyway, back to A Thousand Splendid Suns. So this book is about two women. It follows their lives separately, and then their lives meet, and then the book follows their lives together. And one of the women is Miriam, and the other woman is Lila. Miriam is a harami, a bastard child, a child out of wedlock, and she's raised by her mother in a little mud hut outside of Herat in Afghanistan, and her father visits her occasionally, I think every week, and brings her a lot of gifts, a lot of sweets, spends a lot of time with her, tells her stories of the outside world, but she's never allowed to leave the little mud hut. And despite how she loves her father so much and how her father treats her so nicely when he comes see her, he never takes her out, and her mother always tells her how he doesn't really love her and how he's bothered by her existence and how she's a shame to her family and how her life is always going to be bad because she's born out of wedlock. She's not educated. Her only education is provided by a local mullah. I think that's a priest, like the Islamic version of the Muslim version of a priest. And he teaches her the Quran and teaches her how to read and write, but she doesn't actually go to school to learn other things than that, because her father doesn't allow her to go to school with his other children in the city, but she always blames her mother for it. On the other hand, Lila is different. Lila is brought up in Kabul, in Afghanistan's capital city. Her father is a university-educated man. He's a professor, and he believes that everyone should be educated, and he invests a lot in his daughter's education and allows her a lot of freedom for women in Afghanistan at the time, and she's allowed to go out all the time when she wants. She's allowed to have male friends, and she doesn't have to cover herself. The book spans over many years. It starts in the 70s and it goes until 2003, I think, and I learned a lot about Afghanistan. I think Afghanistan is such a major topic. Like, everyone in this world knows something about Afghanistan, but most of the things that people know is in the context of 9/11 and in the context of the Taliban and US troops being there. But this book tells a story like The Kite Runner from the Soviet invasion and the war between the factions there, and then the arrival of the Taliban, and it is very insightful to me. It was very, very interesting to learn all that, and I understood a lot of things, a lot of the backstory that I had no idea that was going on in Afghanistan. Well, that happened actually. This was mentioned by the writer himself in an interview, was that The Kite Runner was a book about the world of the men in Afghanistan. This is about the women of Afghanistan, and that made me empathize with it more. It made me care maybe a bit more about the characters. I was so impressed by both characters, by their resilience. It makes me think how it is to be a woman there, and I cannot imagine growing up in a country where I have everything. It's so difficult to imagine how it is to be somewhere where I'm considered a lesser being just for my gender, to cannot go out on the street unless you're accompanied by a man in your family. So you depend so much on a male figure. You depend so much you can't go out of the street. You can, even when you go out with a man, you can't go out without fully covering yourself. I heard about burqas before, but it's so interesting. In the book, they actually describe how the burqa actually intervenes with your peripheral vision, and it makes you lose balance. And I didn't imagine that before. I always thought about, oh, poor women having to wear that, but to actually think that it's not just about the idea that you cover yourself. It's you actually lose vision. It hinders you, it handicaps you in a way. The writing style of Hosseini is so beautiful. I loved it so much. I don't remember much about the writing style of The Kite Runner, if it's similar. I'm probably going to have to reread that one soon. But the writing style of 1,000 Splendid Suns is so beautiful. It made me want to reread chapters. I actually went back and reread some of the, not chapters, but just paragraphs, because it was so beautifully written. And he uses the foreseeing technique, I think, where he states of certain events that are going to happen again to the characters, or like, for example, in the beginning of the book, Maryam signs a paper, I'm not going to say what, in the presence of a mullah, and then it says how the next paper that Maryam is going to sign in her life is also going to be in the presence of a mullah. And that just keeps you expecting, it keeps you wanting to read more. He does it very well. I can't even say what I liked about the book most, if it was the topic itself, if it was the characters and how they were developed, if it was just the storytelling technique. It was so beautifully wrapped up that I cannot remember the last book that made me feel so passionate after finishing it. I love this book so much, and I recommend it to everyone. I heard more about it after I did the course on women's rights online, and I heard a lot about Afghanistan there as well, and the condition of women there, and all the violence that happens against women there. And I think that's where that made me want to read this book. That's what made me pick it up, because I waited too long. I liked The Kite Runner, but it didn't make me just run out and get his next book when it came out. But the fact, like, learning about the issues brought it to my attention, and I wanted to read it then. But definitely now I want to read everything that this author comes out with, because he's brilliant, and I really like him. Really like him. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I didn't bore you with how much I said in so many ways that I love this book. I hope that at least it made you want to try to check it out. I know it's been very hyped. I've seen a lot of booktubers mentioning it. So maybe a lot of people out there watching this have already read it. If you did, just please let me know what you thought about it. And, you know, no pressure, but if you want, like, comment, subscribe, and I hope I'll see you guys for my next video. Have a great day. Bye bye.